GRDC's Seed of Gold, an award sparingly given and only to those who have contributed much. What Bill Murray, chairman of the National Working Party on Grain Protection, didn't know was that he was about to be presented with this very prestigious award.
Bill's legacy will be long-lasting.
Since 2007, just 3 people have received a Seed of Gold. Trish Griffiths was the first.
I think the fact that it's only been awarded 3 times just shows the esteem with which GRDC bestows these awards, and it puts so much more value on it.
From nutritionist to managing director of Go Grains, Trish Griffiths was a hard act to follow. 6 years later, Jeff Thomas received his award for 5 decades of dedication to the grains industry.
A number of people said that it was the first time that they'd known me lost for words. So yeah, I was surprised, all right.
His peers described Jeff as a powerful advocate for advancing agriculture. 2 years on, another remarkable individual was to be honoured.
I'm delighted this afternoon to be able to present to Bill Murray the GRDC Seed of Gold Award for exceptional service to the grains industry.
Exceptional because Bill Murray took a grains industry with a poor reputation for stored grain quality and turned it completely around.
I found that Australian grain going into the UK during the 50s and 60s had a record of about 90% of all cargoes being infested.
Bill left Northern Ireland to join the Australian Wheat Board as an entomologist and stored grain specialist.
China and Russia had been complaining strongly to the board during the late 60s about similar problems, insect infestation, arriving in those markets and causing them serious problems. So it was a market issue, a likely loss of market issue, and it was all insect driven.
The supply pipeline from grower to port was infested. The main chemical used at the time was malathion.
It had been overused and insects were virtually able to swim in it, to tell the truth. 100% malathion treatments were not sufficient to overcome many of the insects.
Peter Redding was with a chemical company in those days.
There was one chemical that was basically used for stored grain protection. It had been used for years, no one worried about it, no one said, oh, it's going to have resistance. But Bill identified that.
In the early 70s, and with Bill Murray now on board, the AWB established the National Working Party on Grain Protectants to provide the answers. Bill travelled the entire grains belt to assess the scale of the problem.
If you can imagine a 20,000 tonne store, a shed, a flat shed, with grain sitting in one great heap, and it completely covered with moth webbing, perhaps to the depth in the old terms of about 1 inch, perhaps 2.5 centimetres, 3 centimetres. And operators had to go into the store and use large scissor type devices to cut the webbing off the grain and roll the webbing back before they could actually move the grain.
More chemicals for use on grain were urgently needed.
Basically all of the chemicals that are registered internationally for use on grain, Bill developed all of that work. So really, without those products being registered internationally, we wouldn't be here today.
Many countries, including Australia, set their own maximum residue limits, while the international standard is set by Codex, an organisation made up of UN, FAO member states and the World Health Organization. With GRDC support, Bill Murray was able to attend 18 annual Codex meetings.
We fly the flag for Australia in that meeting to ensure that pesticides that we're using keep their MRLs. And several times we've had to fight for that because older chemicals sometimes need more data to support them.
Bill Murray never lost a fight, and as he retired as chairman of what is now the National Working Party on Grain Protection, he was honoured by his peers.
This is what I might call a rather unexpected pleasure. To say that it was a surprise is, diminishing the moment. I was absolutely startled. I did not expect anything like that.
Now, very little grain is treated with insecticides. That peak passed 30 years ago. But the market today is more demanding of clean, chemical-free grain than it used to be. And all the grain turned out for consumption is checked as part of the National Residue Survey, first implemented in the 60s.
It's still running at the same cost level to growers as it was in 1994. No increase in price, and I find that quite remarkable.
It should come as no surprise that Bill Murray helped review the National Residue Survey in 1994. His contribution to the Australian grains industry is unique, and it's fitting Bill Murray received one of the industry's rarely bestowed awards.